Welcome along for round number 2 of season 13, tier 2. It is time for RPL's return to Qatar. We were not here last season, but we were here the 3 seasons prior. And the circuit got repaved and some changes to it. But let's just also remind you as well that there's also an earlier start finish line and a different pit lane. So a lot of things drivers will have to get used to for tonight's event. Last week, it was Tadpole who won, and now he's been moved up to tier 1. But JTK, who finished second in that race ahead of Kipu, will definitely be looking to win once again. Tier 3 yesterday. Egg, I've got you here now, I believe. So you can talk about it with me for a little bit before George gets here. Tier 3, we had Jordan win. It was a Red Bull 1-2 over George, and then there was a Ferrari on the podium. We had quite a calm race for Jetta standards, only 2 VSCs, but in all fairness, though, 2 cars did get in the air at one point in the race. You had Optical, who took flight, and Valkyrie, who got up in the air from the front of the car. So a lot happened in yesterday's race for a calm Jetta race, but only 2 VSCs. We still kept it safety car free.
Yeah. And interesting on the flying up in the air crashes. I believe that is in the patch notes on Monday. It's going to be fixed.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
so that will no longer happen.
Wow.
Indeed. Crazy scenes.
It's unfortunate.
We're waiting for... Oh no, George has put it on realistic performance now. And we're waiting for him to join the party. And I will then swiftly leave.
But before he does join, any other thoughts on tier 3 from yesterday before we talk about the other things, Egg? Your tier, of course.
Yeah, Jordan, good race. And George is now here, and yeah, George got P2 there yesterday. So
why the fuck is Egg here?
He was talking about tier 3 for a little bit while we recapped that from yesterday.
Okay,
but
I'm dying for a shit. I've just posted the event notes.
Gotcha. Awesome.
I'll give it to a 5 fast. Because why not? Can both of you double check the set lobby settings for me quickly? Because I've not got a save.
Doing that right now. Yep.
Yeah, timed. It should all be okay because this is the lobby, like the preset I use for F2. But just double check.
Do we want formation lap on?
Is it off? Is it? Oh yeah, I thought we'd keep them on now. It's just last game was in the box. It was glitched.
Do we want formation lap on? That is currently.
I tell you what, no, I will keep them on.
You want to try it? You can.
Yeah, because
Works.
because it's tier 2, I'll keep them on, and then if we find a glitch in tier 2, then I'll turn them off. But I'll just keep it. Oh yeah, that is also true. That's what it's meant to be on. What's that?
What about car damage? Because that's standard and reduced. That's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Or is that glitched?
Okay,
just making sure.
Reduced, yeah.
All right. By the way, we'll talk about past Qatar races in just a moment for those of you watching the stream. Welcome along. But yeah, just figured we'd go over tier 3 first. That's why Egg was here. And yeah, just FYI for those of you watching and for those of you in here, I have a thunderstorm outside my house, so we're gonna try to push through it and hope no Wi-Fi or anything cuts out. But yeah, commentating through a thunderstorm. That's definitely not a first for me.
Some would say it's electrifying. Whee.
Yeah, maybe the race will be electrifying tonight with the DRS in the main straight overtake button. We got lots to talk about, George. This circuit, though, has had some interesting moments happen. The first season it was ran, you were in contention for the victory. You mentioned, I believe, before in the past, you got dossed out of a chance for a win. If I'm correct about that. Owen got a podium from a qualifying ban. Instincts won that race. It was the first race of the F124 game cycle, or sorry, F123 game cycle last game. What are you expecting from the drivers here for tonight's event?
I'm not sure. It's a lot of we did pre-season here in F2, and the most interesting thing I took from it was tire wear, because the last sector was very fast. And it absolutely shredded the front tyres in F2 cars. So I think that'll be the big thing to watch out for. But that was obviously on the old handling system. I'm not sure if that's something they've patched or looked at. But that would definitely be something to look for nonetheless. I think ERS will be a lot like less of a factor because it's much easier to save it on this game. So I think the big thing that will cause the most interest will be strategy here and tyre wear, because DRS is also a big help on this track.
One other thing to mention as well, actually a few other things in this whole thing is track limits. Track limits been a big thing around the circuit, even in the first Tier 1 race here as well. That was a very key thing, and I think it's going to be here again tonight because these guys are still going to use the track limits on this game. They're going to be pushing, and it's going to take a while for people to go races without at least getting a warning. I know Jeddah was a race last night for us where we didn't get warnings, at least as far as I'm aware. I didn't get any, but that's a little bit of an easier track to do it. Qatar, it's a bit of a trickier one to go warning free. Another thing as well is at this circuit there's a lack of safety cars and VSCs. George, across all tiers, we've went 229 laps consecutively without a safety car, without a full safety car. But as for there being no lack of safety cars and VSCs around the circuit, there being none of those, the big thing we'll have to watch out for is how do people manage their fuel? Everyone loves to underfuel here, and we've always seen, I think, 90%, 80% of the races ran around here, someone has ran out of fuel before the finish.
Yeah, again, this game is much different than the last game. It's one of the things I noticed in Tier 3 last night is that normally on the previous game F1 23, on average you would put about 1.5 laps in, let's say, like 1.5 laps in. But yesterday, in Tier 3, I was able to run like back to what I would on like F1 22, like around like 0.5. So it's a lot less harsh on fuel. Again, I think there's always people try and factor in the chance of safety cars and try and be a bit clever, and they could get punished for it. As you say, there's very little chance of safety cars around here. But I think in general, the game is much more forgiving in that sense as well.
So another thing as well to look out for before this qualifying session tonight is dirty air from the drivers. We have 18 in here tonight. We'll go over some headlines in just a moment, and last week for that matter too. But dirty air will be a big thing because I've noticed in this game it does not affect the cars the way it should in low-speed corners. It really should be the low-speed corners that affects them in, but it's a lot more so in the high-speed corners. So with there being a lot of high-speed corners around Qatar and there only being 2 big braking zones or 2 really slow traction zones, something we'll definitely have to watch out for tonight. Let's just go over a small bit of headlines, and before we get some hot laps going, George, we'll talk about what we think in terms of these. So, George, you're here because Hunted is no longer the tier coordinator. You are. Also, Jack is now the Merc co-TP. Josh he's now the Academy assistant. Tadpole to F1 Tier 1. Congrats to Tadpole finally graduating from Tier 2 to Tier 1. It was bound to happen at some point, happened before, and it's happened again. But JNT takes over his spot at Ferrari. I wonder how long he'll last in that Ferrari before maybe he moves up, as some people claims he's Tier 1 pace. C. Davies, full-time the Williams. He raced in the Tier 1 race just last week. Same with Sam Gino in the Aston Martin. And Sauber Tier 2 seat still needs filling for that second spot alongside Polo God. So we'll figure out what happens for that. But George, Tadpole moves up finally for technically the second time. I think it's the right move. Probably would have been better to maybe wait a race or two, but at least these guys who were definitely wanting him not to race and have it through their own can now have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's always been fast, in like to his credit. He's obviously a Tier 2 champion previously. I just think he's been he's had in terms of his driving, he's had a burden of being a team principal for the Alpine Academy for quite a while. So I think he's just sort of focused more on that and kept himself in Tier 2, sort of tucked himself away almost just to fill seats and prioritised his team principal role more than his driving role, which is, completely fair enough. So I think now that he's finally been relieved of those duties by Hunted, he can focus more on his driving. So it'll be nice to see him unleash his full potential, because as you said, he's been very quick towards the tail end of last season and this season, so much so that he's been banned from this tier. So it'll be nice to see him in Tier 1 really showing what he can do.
He did have the choice of racing Sauber today, but he chose to go up to Tier 1 early instead and choose that choice over it, which makes total sense. This happened a little bit quicker due to the whole shenanigans with Tier 1 seats moving around. Owen dropped to reserve, Egg gone to Aston from the Ferrari Academy. And yeah, Tadpole got his chance to move there as well. Ardell just invalidated on a lap. We're going to start to watch the hot laps now. I'm on board with SSR William, and look at the traffic we have in Sector 1 and into 2 now. Whether it's a gaggle of cars on outlaps or actually on a lap. It's quite insane the amount of traffic around the circuit, even though it's quite a bit longer than tracks like Austria and Canada.
I was just about to say, I think an interesting person to ride on board would be the Ferrari of DLG. He was the first sort of front-running car to start a lap, but he just invalidated as he was coming into traffic. So not the start he was looking for sure.
Let's see, back to SSR William. He'll be the first one to at least complete a lap, and we'll keep going through on hot laps. I'll give it to you in a little bit to go over this circuit. You know it quite well. You've got points every time you've ran here in Tier 2 at this circuit, and I think every one of them you had a chance to run for the podium. SSR William, not the best of weeks last week. He was beefing with his teammate Blue Goggy, but right now, 122.6 Academy teammate, to correct myself, just for anyone wondering. Red Fire or Samgino? It's Samgino first. He starts a lap. And is there a McLaren behind that will start? How about we go on board with McLaren? John only his second week. And funny enough, George, in Leo Lund's second week, he took victory last week. I wonder if John could do the same, but this time in Tier 2. Here we go at Turn 1. Take it away.
Yeah, it's quite... for this game, they've made quite a few changes to some of the layouts of the corners, but as you were saying in the pre-race build-up, it's very easy to get track limits in a bad 8. I think for all the drivers that we're trying to get a fairly solid banker on the board for qualifying, just to sort of set up the nerves. It's a very sort of technical, fast-flowing track. Very hard to lose the rear. And you've got to keep the momentum up, you've got to keep the speed up. There's not really a chance on the track where you can have a bit of cool off, reset yourself and think. It's very intense, as you see John now. He's got a little bit of DTM maybe from the car in front. I'm not sure who that is, or Williams maybe. But from there it looks like a pretty solid lap. If you can get it finished. He's done what he needs to do, to be fair, so far. Just get a time on the boards. So then you have almost nothing to lose then for your next 2 runs. That's what qualifying and that's what a short qualifying session is all about. You need to just have a mid or okay first run, a slightly better second run, and then leave nothing on the table then for your third run. And he's done very well there, going first now by just under 2 tenths.
JNT clocks in a time second fastest hard champion from last season. John, by the way, last week was P5 on debut. Mintoki ended up getting penalized after trying to let Jordan go under yellow flags. She did it the wrong way. She ended up brake checking Jordan, and it costed her a chance in the points. She's 6th fastest right now. Blue Goggy, a good recovery from last week. 4th right now. Just had a Red Fire Tiger. Much needed right there. Wavy Knife, 7th. Also, Polo God coming across the line. He's one of the next ones, and he'll be 7th in the Sauber. 2nd week returning, but he had a small part-time return here 2 seasons ago, and he DNF'd from this race. Something I want to mention, George, before we get to any more hot laps, because we don't have many people until we get to a hot lap. This track has seen 3 or less DNFs the 3 times we've ran this circuit, so definitely a quiet one in terms of the retirements at this circuit. And one other thing to mention before you go on about that or anything else, maybe one of our headlines that we should talk about. Blue Goggy qualified 19th last week, had a appalling race, only got 1 point, but right now he's kind of putting the critics to the drain, at least being P4 where he should be at least.
Yep,
at minimum.
For sure. Blue Goggy for a long time has been labelled as one of the worst drivers in RPL history. It's quite hard for me saying that, but I mean, to be fair, he proves me right a lot of the time. Being labelled as with likes of like Leon and all that lot. But full credit to him. As soon as he stepped into this Red Bull, he really has shown a lot of improvement, and he's been really competitive. Even in F2, as you said, he was as you saw. He was right up there with the likes of Jack Miles, a Tier 1 driver. And he seems to sort of almost got some confidence back. And I think Wavy Knife suffers with a similar issue that I'm going to label Blue Goggy with now, is that because so many people think he's so poor, he's almost accepted that mindset that he's nothing but a back marker. And almost that if he doesn't crash on a race, he's done well. And that's an issue that I think Wavy Knife has had for a while. But now that he seems to be coming out of that and almost having a bit of self-confidence and expecting more from himself. He seems to be delivering more week in, week out. Obviously it's still very up and down Bumpy Road, and that's to be expected, but it's nice to see him starting to put in a good performance here or there.
Optical across the line. He'll be the next 1 o'clock in a time 9th fastest. He's a Tier 3 full-time driver. So he got called up to this McLaren last minute since Hunted is missing for another week in a row. He's another one in that conversation of drivers who should be moved up to Tier 1. He hasn't even done a Tier 2 race yet this game, but he did do pre-season. So it shall be interesting to see what happens for that storyline. To your point about Goggy and Wavy, it's interesting to see both of them up there this time. Just a few weeks after their incident pre-season Brazil. Good to see there for Wavy, because for Wavy's sake, the longest time in Mercedes, he couldn't score a point. He was always up front, always doing what he needed to do, and then could not finish the job with that car. He scored points with that car at the season 11 finale for the first time, but he's in it full time this season. Dill JG we're on board with right now on a lap. And before we cover the rest of this lap, I just want to mention drivers like Vibe Has is full time. FBL, excuse me. Lyra Fusion, Optical, I believe maybe Sam Gino. I could be wrong about him. Those guys are reserving or making their debuts. For Lyra Fusion, joined the league less than 24 hours ago. He's in Tier 2 now, and he's making his debut. I think there's C. Davies' Tier 2 debut. Made his RPL debut last week. Same with Sam Gino, and Dill JG did invalidate for a second time. This is horrid from the driver who won just 2 weeks ago in Japan. Or 2 races ago, excuse me.
Yeah, so what I was talking about with John on his first lap, Dill JG is having exactly what I was talking about, where John needed to set a solid banker and then build up to it. Dill JG is doing the opposite now. He's put himself under a lot of pressure to only have 1 lap with no banker, all or nothing lap. He's not giving himself the opportunity to build up to it and build his confidence and get into the rhythm, which this track is very dependent on his rhythm. He's taken the opportunity away from himself now, where he's almost left it all on the table now for his last lap.
It's unfortunate, but right now JTK is one of those drivers who've yet to set a lap, and he's got a Ferrari in front of him. He's got to hope this Ferrari does not get in the way, but it kind of helps him a little bit with a small slipstream. However, a small lock up there at the final corner. JTK trying no ABS for the first time. You mentioned this to me prior. Does it work out for him? Yes, it does! 20.7. It's the fastest time so far. Scintillating stuff from the Dutch driver. Only 2nd place in the race last week, but he wants to make that 1 spot better this week. Good stuff from JTK as we go to John now, who tries to beat that lap. 32 thousandths down in the first sector. Let's see John now. Will he get better in the 2nd sector than last time? Just 13,000, so he's got a little bit more time to find if he wants to get by JTK here on the leaderboard. John comes to the last few corners. That triple right. So tough on the car, so tough on the curbs. Goes out wide, picks up an invalidation. So unfortunate for John. But JNT, Groggers, is up by almost 2/10 and could get on the front row.
It's looking good. As I say, we as good as JTK's lap was, we can't get too excited, because that was going against everyone's bankers at the start of the session. So he is on pole by close to 4/10. I don't think it'll end that way towards the end of the session.
We'll find out if JNT Gaming can dispatch maybe John, maybe even JTK, and go 1 step further. Return to the Ferrari from the champion last season. Does he go to the top? He just misses it. 11 thousandths. And to your point, I think as well, track evolution will be a big thing later on too. This is crazy stuff. Who's on a lap right now that we're missing? Sam Gino? Sam Gino's about to get blocked by a Haas if that Haas don't get out of the way. He got lucky there at the end with the Haas just getting to the left side in time. 27% on this battery. Shall be interesting to see how these drivers use it at the circuit with the overtake button. Now uses it. Oh, yellow flag sector 1, but Sam Gino moves up a place. Not bad right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
JG's on a lap, George. You want to cover that?
Yeah, no, it's
Sorry,
and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about building momentum and getting the confidence is what JNT has just displayed there, where he was, I can't remember, 5 or 6 tenths down, but on the 2nd lap where he's more confident, he's got less to lose, he can afford to make the mistake of invalidating. He shows that how big of an improvement all the drivers should make on the second lap and third laps.
Bill JG is yet to complete a lap, and he's coming through Sector 1 right now. 30.1 on our board for Sector 1. Here he comes, riding the curb, and now you're going to set yourself up for the 50-meter braking board. You're going to brake a little bit past that. Fourth gear for him. Hot lap on the ERS2 here. Now overtake, and this is a kind of windy section, if you want to call it that. Now utilize that right side and just arc the corner for the left. You might pick up a track limit warning right there if you go too far to the right, but he's got 2 cars in front of him. One's an Academy teammate. The other is an Aston pulling out of the way. Here's to triple rights, though. This is so tough of a section to just nail it, and he's done that. And he's gone full throttle, I think 95, 99% of the way through. It's so tight through this section, George, and he's got just a few more corners to go, and it looks like he won't invalidate this time.
Yeah, quite. I mean, after the horrific qualifying he's had so far, all he needs is to get a solid lap time on the board, and he's done that with the P5. I'm not sure if he'll have enough time to get back, refit tyres, refuel, and go back out. He'll be very close. He'll be lucky if he can. Because top 5 is alright, but I think we're still going to see a lot of improvements from other people, so we should not say for he is currently now.
Well, right now we got SSR William on a lap. He's one of our only drivers on a lap on this circuit. Like I mentioned last week for him, some beef with Blue Goggy. William not in the VC with the other Red Bull drivers. That's what Blue Goggy was quite frustrated with. And some drivers said Blue Goggy had some excuses as to why his performance was bad. Goggy said he was stuck behind William for quite a bit of the race, but I think William's just on a recharge here as he's invalidated and a second down in the first sector. So unfortunate there. Vibe has as well invalidated. Mintaki's on a lap. We'll watch her. We'll go on board with her lap. I'll let you take full charge of that, George. But as for this circuit, something we should watch out for in the race, the left front wears the most. Like I mentioned about the new pit lane, drivers will not only have to keep it within the white lines, but slow it down in time. And with an earlier start-finish line, we saw 3 photo finishes last week, George. The overtakes have to be done before they were last game when going to the line and drag racing it.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was saying earlier in the session, they've made quite a few changes to the layout of this track, and the big one is that they've brought the start line much closer, or towards the exit of the last corner as Mintoki starts her final lap.
All right, I'll let you take this one. Used to be a Mercedes driver before in the past, whether it was with the Academy or with the main team, and you know a lot about the circuit. 3 points finishes here. Take us through it. Turn 1 now.
Yeah, so one of the turn 2 this game was only a left really. Last game it was a bit of a break in the ninth gear. Due to a bit of traffic in front of it, which is one of the reasons why you don't really want to go right too soon, which is what she's done, but you know, she's there now. All looks all neat, she's kept it all clean. This corner is a nightmare for locking up the brakes, especially the rears if you have the bias a little bit too rearwards. There's something in the gravel, okay, interesting.
Still got it going though, George.
And this next corner coming up now, this left-hander is again another nightmare for locking the rears. It's so easy, it draws you in. You think you can brake a little bit later, carry the brakes, trail braking before you know you spun around. All looks nice and neat though. She comes into the last sector now. She's up by 3.5 tenths, as I said. Everyone is getting more confident. The track is ramping up. Everything's getting faster. She's keeping it pinned through there. Lovely. Wow, even through there as well. Barely even downshifted. She's absolutely flying.
One more corner.
Last corner now. What can she do? Can she get in the front row, second row? Just in the second row.
Bad.
Decent lap.
Not bad. Especially for where that car's been at this game too. That car is not really a top 5 car. It's close, but she's putting it a little bit more than where she should be. Let's see, who do we have on a final lap that we're going to watch first? John trying to defend what was pole position earlier in the session. A minute remains. If you're not on track right now, like Vibe has us not, well, you're going to be done and dusted for if you want to go for pole position. Get your pole predictions in the chat now, 15 of you watching. And John goes through turn 1. We're going to continue to watch the drivers here come through the line after John's done with this. But overtake through here. Interesting meta right there. Now back to hot lap. Is he going to gain time in the first sector, though? This is where I think he really lost out last time. 30,000's down, and he loses it. Oh, big slide, and somehow remains straight. But he's going to have to go again, and I don't know if he's got enough time to do so. He might not.
Costly mistake there
Yikes.
for John.
Yikes. Well, definitely Gonna start well still probably, but maybe not gonna hold on to third place. JTK is on a lap right now, and he's currently our pole man, and he's currently trying to defend it. Let's see if he has any lockups here in this one. Hot lap through here. Overtake button at all? Nope, doesn't look like it. He's got an Aston in front. We've also got an Aston of Redfire and Samgino on laps. Blue Goggy yet to make the checkered flag, and now just gets a lap in. But JTK is up by 50 thousandths. JNT Gaming, last lap, improved by 5/10 before doing now this one. Is he improving though? No, he's down just barely. So this is going to be quite the fight for pole position between the two championship rivals from last season. The two McLarens cross the line, both toe-to-toe. Optical stays where he's at. John stays where he's at. Disappointing for McLaren there, George. But right now, it's between JTK and JNT, it looks like. And JTK is still going better.
How much is JNT up? He's only up.
Only just. It's gonna have to be down to the final sector here. Cars crossing the line now. Samgino to the pits. Ardell up to 10th. Polo got to the top 10 here in the kick stopper. That's good performance from Polo. But JTK crosses the line now as Redfire goes third. JTK continues to improve pole position. But JNT Gaming, will he clap back? He's still up on the time, but only just, and he couldn't do it. JTK is going to be on pole for a 6th time in Tier 2. Unless Mintoki can dispatch it, or Dil JG or Blue Goggy. Dil JG's 4th. Blue Goggy and Mintoki, the next two to come across the line, and the last two to come across the line. Goggy first, Goggy third, Mintoki third. What an ending to qualifying. But it's JTK ahead of JNT this time rather than the other way around like it was last season.
Wow, what an end.
Wow.
Red Fire Tiger as well to walk away with 5th in the Aston Martin. That's a good showing from him there. Silencing the critics.
And John fell to 7th. Very critical there. Very, very critical, George, for where he starts, because pole position has won this race all 3 times in Tier 2. Here's your lineup. JTK, JNT, Mintoki third at the end right there. Just dispatching Goggy, just barely. Then Red Fire, Dil JG, John, all right close with each other. Then Samgino, Wavy, and Polo got around on the top 10. Fair play from Polo God, and both V-Carbs getting up there. Right where they should be, and Polo God more than maybe he should be. Outside the top 10, look for names like Optical, in the McLaren, in the better car. And debuts in Tier 2 from Leroy Fusion and C. Davies. So some interesting drivers to look out for. And just a reminder for strategy, we might see a 1 or 2 stops, and maybe not a lot, but we're likely going to see a 1 stop of hard to medium from what I'm expecting, or medium to hard.
Yep, absolutely. I think if anybody who's not starting on pole's got any sense, they'll be starting on the hards, because I think the tyre wear is going to be astronomical because of how hot they'll get. But yeah, I'm predicting it's going to be a bit of a DRS train, depending on how close people are, obviously, on how closely matched they are on pace, which after qualifying it did look like they were quite close. So I think purely for the sake of surviving and not having blistering or a puncture, the only logical reason is to start on the
15
hards.
seconds. So we've gone over a grid basically, but down to turn 1, we got 10 seconds, George. Will everybody keep it clean?
I think there's a formation lap. I think we're right. But yeah, I think
Okay, you're right.
it's quite a wide track. Logically, theoretically, there shouldn't be any incidences in turn 1, but it's RPL, it's Tier 2. There's, you can never rule it out.
That's very true. Vibe has us going to need to invite back to the session. I might have him added, but I'm going to assume you definitely do.
Like a
Through Xbox. I'll get him then. I'll get him.
I've got him on thingy as well. I'll send him one.
You got him? Okay. All right, so you can get him. While we're at it, let's go over the entire grid here quickly. Vibe has a FBL back row. I think these two guys will just be hoping for a miracle in order to get points in this race. Same with C. Davies. They're not really in the cars to do so. Same with Lojovic. Optical, though, in the McLaren, starting back here. We saw Kipu start back here in Abu Dhabi just last season and gain places on the opening laps, so maybe that can happen for him. Fusion, debut for him. Interested to see what he could do. The two V-Carbs, though, right outside the top 10 here. Hopefully, no inner beef between the Academy drivers here. Polo got inside the top 10, then Wavy, then Samgino, John, Dill JG 6th, Red Fire 5th, Gagi much better than last week and has a chance to get a podium this time. Mentalki 3rd, JNT 2nd, and JTK on pole. Here are your tires here. Everybody on either the medium or the hards. I don't expect really a 2-stop from many. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it from 1 or 2 people. But if you do have that VSC kind of chime in, you will want to go for the 2-stop, maybe at some point or another. And something we mentioned before this race, George, I really hope guys consider their fuel in this event here, because you don't want to underfuel too much. You do want to underfuel a little bit, but not too much, even if there's a safety car or not, because you still could run out.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuel and tyre wear is going to be the 2 big things. I think JNT's playing a very aggressive starting on the hards. I think he's definitely going to be looking to take the lead into turn 1 or even on the first lap, so that's something to watch out for. Running down the order there, as I said, I think, yeah, for the most part, everyone on hards apart from 6 or 7 of them. Sam, Jenner, AB9 both good on mediums. Lukovic, C. Davis, and Vibe had all of the mediums as well as JT. So let's see what they can do.
Fire's wrecked onto the formation lap. Alright then. Well, JNT and mediums. He's the only one in the top 7 outside of the hards. Here we go for the return to Qatar under the repave. The first one under this one. 5 red lights, come on, and they're away now. Lights out and away we go. JNT Gaming looked like a little bit of wheel spin. Some movement in the midfield, nearly 3 and 4 wide, but JNT Gaming is about to get swarmed up. And here comes JTK's teammate, Blue Gagi. Good start from him on the inside already. He had a good launch, and now there's a spin. That's John in the midfield, down to last already. Williams lost a ton of places as well, but it's an absolute horror start for William and John, the 2 Americans. But Mentalki ahead of Red Fire there. He was challenging Mentalki right there for 4th place, but now single file all the way up until where the Sabre Apollo God is. Oh, big send from Optical, and that was way too deep. And that is catastrophic right there, because now someone might have damage. And oh, a big squeeze now to the curb from the Williams.
Yeah, absolutely not an ideal start there for the McLarens. John obviously having the spin and Optical getting his elbows out. All clean up front, in all fairness. Blue Goggy had a little slip on the inside of turn 1, but couldn't make anything stick. JNT with the grip of the mediums was able to sweep around the outside. As they all seem to be settling into the race. JNT though does look like he's getting a bit aggressive on the attack. He did look like he's eyeing up JTK. He wants to get past him early, as I said. He doesn't want to let his tyres overheat. He wants to get the move done sooner rather than later.
All right, good starts then from C. Davies, Optical, Fusion, Ardell, and even Sam Gino 2 places. Everyone else that I named 3 places. JTK sets fastest lap, JNT Gaming in the slipstream. DRS is now enabled this time, but good on Blue Gagi as well, up in 3rd to keep himself in the mix right with the teammate, because if this is going to be a championship season again between JTK and JNT, the second driver's got to be there. And Dill JG talked about struggling with this game. Right now is not there, while Blue Gagi is, to everyone's surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we've seen massively in Tier 3 so far, is the teams can make all the difference in their races. Blue Goggy is waiting in the wings, he's waiting to pounce, doing everything he needs to do, to be fair. He's looking to build a gap on Mentalki, which is not vital. But all he needs to do is just stick into the LS of JMT, wait for those medium tyres to fade off, and late race, when he finally gets into the mediums, when he can pounce.
We'll find out if that happens. A swap between both Aston Martins. Meanwhile, it's Sam Gino leading the charge over Red Fire. He got a really good start on those medium tires as well. He was not inside the top 7, because we said everyone except for JNT inside the top 7 was on hards. So now they've kind of messed up the DRS train right there, because it's the 2 Astons leading a second one rather than being in the first one. So a little change there. Between our race lead, though, ERS charged back up for JTK. He's in a similar range to JNT now. They're both in the battery. JNT sets fast lap, then Blue Gagi does. But will we see a change in the lead before turn 1? We will. JNT Gaming's ducking out to the inside, and he's already through. So a change in hands for the lead, a change in hands for 10th now. Optical up another place.
Yes, so something I'd like to comment on is JTK in the first lap had about 20% battery, and as you saw across the line, he was back up to 70-80%. So this game is much more forgiving on ERS, so it will promote overtaking, and it will promote people to be a lot more aggressive and less tactical.
For Ferrari, who lead the Constructors' Championship right now, only having one car in the top 6 is not vital, but it's still a long season. You got McLaren in second in the Constructors. They don't have a single car inside the top 9. You know they had a struggling start with John already. And for Red Bull's case, for only a good round 1 for one of the cars, now they got both cars up here, and they have themselves in prime position to attack JNT with not only one driver, but 2. And JTK just set a personal best right there through the middle sector, and now we got a spin that is Optical, who's went off in the McLaren. We already mentioned the trouble for John. It's already more troubling for now the second McLaren.
I wouldn't count out John though, because the one thing that comes with the benefit of being spun around and out of the race is that you do have clean air, so your tyres will be a lot cooler, and you'll be able to push and gain back a lot of time quite quickly, I'd imagine. As Wavy Knife is attacking Ardell, wow, very close, they're banging on the straight. Wavy gets the move done, Ardell's coming back at him, and then they make contact. Oh my god! Wavy Knife squeezes one to the curb,
so close.
And Wavy gets the job done. Very aggressive, that's what we love to see, what we expect from Wavy Knife. He's just lost DRS in the process.
Also, Polo got a move done for 10th place on the Haas teammate right there. Vibe Hazza got overtaken by John. You mentioned John. He had a pretty good debut. He did a 2-stop. He didn't even mean to. He did the same thing you did in Tier 3 Bahrain, and still ended up getting 5th place from it in a very competitive field, to say the least. And he was lucky to avoid the Mercedes drama there at the end of the race last week. So maybe he can recover, but in his first 2 starts, I think that's what he's going to be used to for right now, as the top 3 still remain in DRS. A penalty, though, for Ardell.
I'm concerned watching JG. He's hanging on only just to Red Fire Tiger's DRS. He seems to be clutching at straws. He's not got much ERS left. It's not looking good as things stand. But maybe he's considering tyres. Maybe he's waiting. Maybe he's being patient. Who knows?
We'll find out what happens there. I saw Sam Gino go off the final corner at this moment, last lap, and he did pick up a 3-second for it. So already 2 drivers inside the top 10 having track limit penalties. JTK. And here we go. JTK slingshotting past and going through. JTK, I don't know if he really needed to do that, but he's at least got one car in front of JNT to where the second one can put pressure on him, and now FBL's in the penalty box as well.
It's something we saw yesterday in Tier 3. It's very hard to break the DRS once the car behind has got it. It's hard for JNT, JTK, or even Blue Dog. He's trying to think of a plan of what to do moving forward, how you can get the most advantage over the car behind. I think JNT will definitely be looking at an undercut. He needs to try and invent a way to break DRS and minimise the tyre advantage that JTK and Blue Dog will have at the end of the race. But for the minute, it's all looking a bit binary.
Jack wants an invite to game. There should be just enough room for him, by the way. But with that said, JNT Gaming, speaking of room, he might need some bit more room to get past JTK, who just seems to be blocking the entire track for JNT. Is he playing the game here to put Bulgogi in DRS for just enough time here to at least not overtake JTK when he may get overtaken here, but to at least be away from Mintoki enough to where if Gagi makes a mistake, you're not put back into the realms of the Mercedes Academy drivers? For
sure, it would surprise me that they've got a pretty healthy gap to Mintoki behind, as JNT does make the move for the lead. There's no reason why the JTK wouldn't be trying to keep Bulgogi in play. He can use him for strategy if Bulgogi is willing to comply. He could make Bulgogi go long, for example.
You got Wavy Knife and Ardell right there, George. You said banging on the straight last lap. A little bit of contact down in turn 1, and now here comes Wavy Knife defending this, pulling to the inside. Ardell pulling to the outside. And will it work out by the time they get to the heaviest braking zone and the slowest part of the track right here, the big traction zone here at turn 6? It's Wavy Knife still remaining ahead. I really thought they were going to come together there. You had an incident with Florian in that section where Wavy was defending before.
Yeah, I've had run-ins with Florian and Valk in that section. It's not my favourite, but yeah, I think these two, it's a crash waiting to happen. I hate to say it, but they're both getting very aggressive and neither want to back down.
Wavy at least doing okay in the Mercedes. I don't think he's doing the best job he could, but he's at least in the points. Ardell outperforming the V-Carb for a second week in a row. at least on results this time compared to only pace last week. So I think that's what's probably frustrating them too. Wavy's further back than maybe he should be a little bit. Ardell is, you know, further up than maybe he should be. So two drivers going elbows out again for the race lead. Will we see a swap in hands here at the front? JTK going through this time over J&T and getting the pass done. Blue Goggy, remember, is in the wings here. And we spoke about drivers earlier in the week, George, who have never won a race in RPL. Goggy is one of them. And now here we go again on the main straight.
Yeah, the issue these two have is, as you said, you can tell by them that they're getting frustrated. They've got nearly a 4-second gap to the cars in front and nearly a 4-second gap to the cars behind. They're both in no man's land. It's hard as a driver to envisage you making progress and catching the cars in front. So you just think, I might as well fight for this position now. It's all I've got left to fight for. And I think that's a rut they're both in now, or they're both thinking that they're sick of each other, that they just want to get in front of the car, the other car, and make progress, but they're just tripping over each other now and hampering each other, and it's going to end in blows, I think.
Lap 7 of this race, when Egg and I spoke about the circuit before you joined, one of the things he spoke about is 29 laps seems quite long for a Qatar race. Well, I would have to disagree. I think this race goes by quite quickly, to say the least, and it will definitely go by slowly if you're one of these drivers in fuel consumption mode. I don't really see anybody in that mode at all in any way to where they have to at least save some fuel. But C. Davies becomes the 4th different driver to pick up a track limit penalty. That's going to continue to be a big talking point tonight as we got Wavy and Ardell still close. And the race lead, 7/10 now. Will Blue Goggy put pressure on J&T? He's using battery, but he's not close enough to make that move. Here comes the Aston Martin's now swapping it. Here's Red Fire overtaking his teammate, and Wavy Knife and Ardell are still at it. Oh, spin in the background. That's the Haas off. That is Lojovic right there in the background, I think, on the main straight. He had something happen. It didn't show yellow flags.
There goes George on C. Davis.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
yep, you're right.
That lovely move.
Lojovic on optical now as well. Both McLarens in quite big battles right here. Lojovic still on the outside now for turn 2. Was the inside for turn 1, and optical is now back through. So McLaren, I think their big thing, George, will be once the pit stops hit, they will be the ones maybe trying to jump somebody, or at least in position to jump somebody with both drivers, because although optical is 5 seconds away from the next car, I don't think he's out of this race, especially with how hard Wavy and Ardell and even Polo and Fusion, those guys in the end of the points sections, have been battling.
Yeah, I think it takes something special for Opticals to get into the points today, but I'm not going to count it out. I think they've both definitely got the pace. It's just a matter of luck and how hard the others are going to fight. As I've been saying, Wavy and Ardell, they're very much getting their elbows out, and I think they're starting to what's the word, like, take advantage of where they are now. I think they're starting to feel like. Yeah, I just think it's getting to the point late race where anything can happen.
And Invade said this reminds him of yesterday where the two Ferrari and Red Bull cars both were battling. So interesting there. We spoke about battling, more battling between Ardell and Wavy. Back down the inside from Ardell. Will he send one here to 3? A little bit of contact between both them. And Wavy Knife propelling ahead, but not without contact right there. This is getting quite edgy here for 8th place again. But to Invade's comment, Red Bull versus Ferrari, just the question is, where is that second Ferrari, 7th place?
He's struggling. The pit lane. Yeah, that's that second Ferrari too. He is struggling at the minute, and maybe he just can't get the life or get the most out of these hard tyres. Hopefully he comes to life of it as soon as he pitches the mediums. I mean, he's not out of the race for sure, absolutely not. He's still looking on like in the fight for P4, maybe even a podium if something goes wrong ahead. But no, he's absolutely not out of the race. He's just not quite as competitive as what you'd like to think.
And of course, especially winning a race at the last Tier 2 race on the last game cycle, you'd expect him to be a bit higher up, and he's not been. So it is definitely unfortunate, but Fusion, speaking of unfortunate stuff, he was in 11th place and he's now lagged out of this session. He's going to need an invite back. But as for the battling, Red Fire backed off there at turn 1 just to not hit the back of Kentucky. And here we go again. Ardell and Wavy swapping it again. Wavy back down the inside and maybe pulling a fake on Ardell right there to try and make him go out of committing to the inside, but it just didn't work right there. John will get 11th place now. That Fusion will need an invite.
Yeah, I've set in 2 now, that's alright.
Good stuff, good stuff. But as for Dil JG, I mean, I don't know if this is really a track thing, though, because he was at least okay in Bahrain. He said this has been a tough F1 game for him to get used to. He feels like he's slow. He's not really adapting to it much. If he ends up adapting to it a bit later than everybody, he might be one to watch out for later in the season. But right now, it's not looking like happy days for him. Same with Lojovic, though, just picked up a 3-second for the first time this race. 5 drivers of the 17 remaining have a track limit penalty.
Yeah, I think obviously the closest, most interesting battle is probably that fight in the lead or P4. Two mini DRS trains forming. I think pit stops is obviously going to be the big shake up. Apart from that, it's all looking pretty DRS overtake here and there. Nothing too as you can see for the minute, apart from waving nice penalty.
Here we go again. Oh! Major touching on the main straight between Wavy and Ardell. Wavy tried to go to the outside, but I don't think Ardell wanted to give him much space, and he's almost around. Oh my God, what a save! Oh my word. How did Wavy keep that car in control right there? And one thing I want to mention about the teammates of Wavy's in the academy and the teammate on track, they keep switching DRS places like that with Mentaki and Red Fire. If they do this at the right moment and time that's right, they will catch up to Blue Gagi and JNT if a pit stop goes wrong for one of them. I don't know about you, George, but I'm still baffled by how Wavy kept that car going.
I'll be honest, I didn't see it. I was looking at the race side to try and see if I could kick out because he's making those mic noises. But if it's as good as how you reacted, it must have been very good. He's our little Colin McRae.
Oh. Well, for our race lead, JNT Gaming, barely in DRS, but still in this race. Behind that, here comes the swap once again between Red Fire and Mentaki. They've lost 5/10 this time, but I just think the interesting thing is they've got to time this DRS swap if they want to keep doing it. Wavy is in for the first time this race, and that's on the mediums. This does mean, George, we should see JNT come in soon, too.
An interesting thought as well I keep noticing is Sam is very, very close to losing DRS within the lap. And if I'm Dil JG, I'd be very concerned with that, because as soon as Sam Giorgetto loses DRS, if he does, then you can almost write out Dil JG's chance to get a top 4, because he is very much reliant on keeping with his DRS train and keeping in contact that way. So he needs to be thinking about maybe launching an attack soon on Sam, trying to fight his way up through this DRS train, because he cannot afford to fall off the back of it.
Well, I will say about Dil JG, I mean, he's kept himself in this DRS train, but he's one of the only ones who's not done any overtaking in the DRS train. So, I mean, to our point about him not doing too great, I mean, he's at least in this train. He should be with his teammate, though, to help him. He's not, but he's at least in it. Now, you got to be in it to win it. But the thing is that he's just not making overtaking, and that's going to be the big thing that hampers him later on. Blue Gagi, JNT Gaming. Didn't think I'd be saying that, but we saw it at Japan. Here we go again now for second place in this race, just like Japan. And the teammate is out front, and Blue Gagi is diving to the inside, but not going for it. He faked him right there. And to the pit lane for the first time is Sam Gino, blinking first of those guys in that train.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to Dil JG there. I think, yeah, as it stands, he's doing a fine job. He just lost the DRS because of Sam's pitting. But I had quite a smart move from Sam if it was intentional, because it doesn't mean that Dil JG is out of DRS and will lose a bit of time. But I'd like to go back to him and say that he's doing a fine job for the minute. He's in a 5 which is what is expected of a Ferrari driver. He's biding his time, he's waiting, he's being patient, you can't fault him for that. However, as it stands, if he was to finish P6, then you would argue it would be disappointing.
Well, he's just outside of DRS now of Red Fire Tiger, so this should be very interesting. A lot of people are talking about as well, in the mix of drivers maybe moving up to Tier 1. Would Red Fire Tiger go back, possibly? Well, the thing about Red Fire Tiger is he's in an Aston Martin, and His TT pace has definitely been different from his race pace. A little bit of a drop off there is what I've noticed. But he's still in this race for a good finish in comparison to having the puncture last week. He's just going to be careful when extending not to get one. And will we see J&T come into the pits on this new pit lane? He's not coming in just yet, but he's got some pressure from Blugagi now. Still close here behind, but not using the battery this time.
If I was still... I don't think I'd think of a better name for him, but I hate saying Dill JG. I just put Dylan. If I was Dylan, I'd certainly be thinking about undercutting because he's lost DRS, and the opportunity of an undercut would leapfrog him in front of Mindoki and Red Fire Tiger if he was to execute it properly. However, it would leave them vulnerable towards the end of the race. As we've seen, though, mediums can certainly go 14-15 laps, so if he was to pit now, he would be okay. The hards are indestructible, as Jack Mouse would say. But I think he's in a position now where if he can't get DRS this lap now, I think he has to go into the pits. Yes.
Just a reminder, if oh, big slide from JT. I was just gonna say, just a reminder, if J&T does win this race, or JTK, you would continue the streak of having races in Tier 2 won from the front row. 14 of the last 16 before today have been won from the front row, so it shall be interesting to see what happens there. It will be a big undercut if J&T does pit now, and I do think he's going to be pitting very, very soon here. Ferrari tire wear not as bad as last game. Oh boy.
89, no, he's acting like that.
Well, into the pit lane, here we go. J&T and Blugagi got it in just under the speed limit. They almost sped, but they both locked up right there. Mentelki and Red Fire, they both stay out. Do we see a swap between these two? We've not had an Aston on podium since this race 3 seasons ago, but Red Fire Tiger is currently on the podium just before pit stops.
Which will the Blugagi tyres will light up much quicker. He should be all over J&T this opening lap. That's what he can do.
Here we go, exiting the pit lane. Blugagi and J&T. Blugagi looks like he had a bit more momentum coming out. Remember, he's on the mediums. J&T on the hards. Will we see some more overtakes there? I'm not sure. Fusion, though, has just got overtaken by 2 cars on one street. Sam Gino being one of them. Optical being the other. And all 3 of these guys have penalties in this race for track limits. We only have about half the drivers who in this race without a track limit penalty. Just a reminder, by the way, George, we've really kept it clean here in the last however many races it's been since the last safety car. Season 10 F1 Mexico, if you include all tiers, was the last time we had a full safety car out in RPL as a whole. We've gone now 240 plus laps with that being said, but Ardell is going to play the games here for his academy teammate. He's right in the way of J&T Gaming, and how will this hamper him as JTK enters the pit lane with Lojovic picking up a penalty?
Help his academy here, I'm not sure. I think he's always like, you would think he's handing the win to JTK here, but he's also hampering Blugagi.
Oh, does he back off there like he did again this time? No, he's in the pits, so he helped himself out, and maybe them two go at it. Now here comes Blugagi and J&T going at it. Dill JG exiting the pits. He's obviously going to be behind. JTK's ahead, but will it be ahead with both Red Bulls this time? Gagi dives down the inside, and he just cannot complete the move just yet. But remember, J&T Gaming is on the worst tires here in comparison to Gagi and JTK. Hard tires compared to the mediums.
JTK needs a huge outlap now. He needs to make sure he can keep J&T out of DRS, which he is doing. He is doing. Blugagi is keeping the pressure on J&T. He cannot get within that 1 second margin. JTK obviously can be fast. It's, as of this point, faster than J&T with tyres. So it's JTK's race to lose.
But it's also Blugagi's race to lose in terms of a podium, though. He's been on it, and he's going to continue to be on it here for getting on J&T's gearbox for 2nd place, and he's still not done trying to overtake him. He's now using the right side, maybe the left side this time. I think he's just ducking out, kind of, to at least see the braking zone, because he's so close to the back of J&T Gaming. You know this move's going to be on quite soon. He's already lost his 2nd J&T has to JTK, and it's really a race between these two in order to fight up there. changing the lead. Red Fire through Mentaki, but John into the pit lane. So does Polo God as well come in.
If Blue Gogi wants this race win, he needs to get past JNT this lap.
And he is now. Here we go. Gogi through.
It'll be interesting to see if JNT will be tactical. Sure, you think that Blue Gogi is to be faster than him. However, if these two work together, they would be able to catch back up to JTK, you would think. However, it depends what if Blue Gogi wants to be a team player, trying to settle for the 1-2, or if he wants to be selfish and go for it all. And you cannot blame him if he does do that. He is also searching for his first win, of course. He's driven perfectly so far. Massive help to his team. His team cannot follow him so far. He is looking like he's gapping JNT as well.
Yeah.
JNT has got a lot of battery in hand.
Just a lap later than JTK's tires, though, by the way. A lap later only. So, not too big of a difference, but another lockup right there, I think, at that braking zone right there. Ooh. And he's trying to put JNT out of DRS right here. He's using that overtake, and he's only just got him in DRS right here. So this is a bit of a tricky thing for Blue Gogi right now. The 2 leaders are in. Red Fire and Mentaki both in. So everybody except for William, Optical, and Fusion have pitted in this race. JTK's had a lot of momentum in night races. He's got top 4 finishes in the last 4 Tier 2 night races. He's surely going to make another one with another fastest lap right here. But will it be the win this time in comparison to before? Gogi and JNT down the main straight, racing it out. JNT's close, but is he close enough for a move? He's going to have to go for a late one if he does, but he cannot get there. Red Fire and Mentaki behind Dill JG. So Dill JG, who's been top 4 in the last 3 races, could get another one tonight right now with the massive undercut he's pulled off. Wow.
So he had to do it, and he's done it, and it's worked out beautifully for him. He's also broken DRS. If he can keep that gap for this next lap, he is laughing. He's doing very well. Can he keep it going though?
It was talked about last week, George, that Blue Gogi, if he didn't get more than 25 points by the end of round 3, Cookie would consider dropping him to V-Carb. And right now he's up to 2nd place, and he's got 18 points in his pocket if he can just hold it. And he's going to tie his best finish. But what a recovery from last week, and what a recovery from preseason as well in both F2 and now Tier 2. Tier 2, he struggled a lot in preseason. He had the 1-lap pace, but he just couldn't put the race pace together. Right now he's ahead of JNT and in 2nd place. And in F2, he tied his best finish last week, 2nd place. And he fixed all the preseason woes that we talked about with him for now. We just don't want to jinx him.
That Blue Gogi coke, man.
John through. John through at a very unusual place in the section at this circuit in Sector 2, Sector 3 area. He's up to 9th. Samgino trying to take 7th from SSR William, who's still yet to pit. I gotta be thinking he's banking on a safety car here, or just not comfortable on the mediums. He's in.
Here comes Red Fire tag on Dylan. Easy.
You're right, 4th place up for grabs. And yeah, that is Red Fire ahead.
A factor I've not thought
4.3 now the gap.
A factor I've not thought about. I'm not sure. I've not checked race trajectories, penalties. As we've seen further down the field, there are quite a lot of track limit penalties. I'm not sure how. I've seen Ardell extended a few times. I'm not sure about the leaders though. I wonder if that'll be a factor towards the end of the race. Who knows?
Well, Blue Gogi had 2 warnings in the first lap. JNT had 1 in the first lap. I'm going to assume that's for a collision, but JTK has kept it warning free in this race. Fair credit to him.
Yeah, he's extended like that massively. He's absolutely flying.
He must be said, he's been an absolute rock star tonight. And you know what? For someone who finished just 2nd, runner-up to Tadpole last week, and now in prime position to take a 1-2 with the team for a 2nd day in a row, and another win for a 3rd season in a row, he's definitely doing the right thing here, it must be said. He's in prime position to just keep this run of momentum going, and maybe not be 2nd best for the championship this season.
There's still 10 laps to go though. It is Tier 2. Anything can happen, and anything probably will happen.
Blue Gogi desperately wants the 2nd place. You can see him defending on the inside line, and JNT Gaming has a big boost. Here he comes. Red Fire Tiger, fastest lap, but JNT Gaming makes the move for 2nd place in this race. How about that? Someone who really got shafted though from the overcut, Mentaki. She was 4th battling with Red Fire, and now down to 6th. What happened there?
Oh yeah, not seen that.
Polo God now at Wavy, 9th place on the cards. Polo God looking to return to the points after his RPL return last week. Race F2 was not a good race there, pointless there. Tier 2 last week, just outside the points. Had a decent race going, though. Fell back after the start, now up to P9, and he's really practiced for this race he mentioned. And to put a Sauber, P9, it looks a little familiar, at least as of this weekend, but good for him in Tier 2 to do that right now so far.
I'd like to mention as well that at the start of this season, when I saw Wavy Knife was signed himself to Mercedes, I did message him, and me and the owners did discuss that. Is he just shoehorning himself into Mercedes? Does he really deserve it? Based off his last season's performance, absolutely not. But I think I messaged him and we came to the agreement that he's given himself a few races, 3 races, I think, to see what he's like, to see if he does deserve it. I think currently, as things stand, based off this race, I think he wouldn't. If I was the team principal, I wouldn't be happy with the P10 result on a Mercedes. It's interesting though. It's interesting to see if he will be responsible enough to do what's necessary. If it is necessary to relieve him of his Mercedes driver responsibilities, it's something to think about though.
Interested to see what just happened with Logivic, though, because he's out of this race. Did he leave the session before he retired, or did he leave the session after he retired? Is that why his car retired? Because of that stupid glitch that's still in the game? I'm not sure what the case was there for Logivic, but he's our second retirement from this race. Move on the main straight. Optical through an Alp-Williams. Alp-Williams is going to have to try and put on a masterclass if he wants to get in the points here in this V-Carb. He's 12 seconds off his team, or 15 seconds off of his teammate Ardell. No, excuse me, 3 seconds off his teammate Ardell. Ardell is 12 seconds off the points, 15 seconds away from the points from Alp-Williams. Excuse me there. But yeah, that is what's happened there. Davies into the pit lane for mediums, and you mentioned JNT and Gagi were catching JTK at first. Now that's no longer the case.
Absolutely.
It's a battle now on for second place.
Yeah, I think they're about second lap slow, give or take. They are fighting quite a bit. Blue Gogi, though, has got no ERS, and to be fair, neither does JNT.
Whoa! Look at this. Lap car in the way. Will be ghosted, though. Mentoki through now for 5th place. Still JG down to 6th. And John now through back up into 7th at the front of this field again. Seems like he's had a decent recovery drive. Maybe one of our guys for driver of the day, maybe?
Potentially, yes.
Let's see who's gained spots. Gagi up 1, Redfire up 1, John, recovery drive. Yeah, I mean, not many places have changed, so I would definitely have to consider John as one of those people for driver of the day. Just a reminder, by the way, Imola tomorrow for F2 to continue the action. F1 in Jeddah later in the day. Tier 3 in Imola next week. We'll have fun with that, George. And next week for Tier 2 will be in Austria.
Let's see if I can actually win a race.
See if I take that full-time contract offer from Sauber. Little news there on stream. Yeah, I have to figure out a few things, and then I will probably take it. Ardell, ooh, is that a second track limit penalty? Yes, it is. He's one of 2 guys still in this race with a second track limit penalty. Fair enough, though, in the top 7 to keep it clean on the track limits. But as for everyone lower than that, it's not really been the race for them to keep it free on the penalties. Here goes a move again for second place. Red Fire's caught up, but Blue Gagi is right in the back of JNT, and he's now going to go for it. Down the inside, ducking out, and through. But he needs to pull a little bit of a gap here because Red Fire's closing in.
It's very interesting indeed. But yeah, there's a reason the top 7 haven't got penalties, and there's a reason why they are in the top 7. It's because they are simply the best drivers. That's a complete lie. I don't even know if they are. I just thought it sounded cool in my head.
Well, Gagi has never had a second place finish in Tier 2, but he has an F2. And Ardell, big moment there. He's around. He was running 11th. Now he's down to 14th. He was to cause a yellow flag, so that's unfortunate there.
Watch it now.
Yeah,
calling
I
it,
guess
calling
that's
it, calling
the case,
it.
unless...
Calling it, absolutely
unless
calling
fast
it.
as lap.
Ah, there we are. See you later. Have a fun quali, man.
I think it's penalty points this time instead of a qualifying ban, if I'm correct.
Right.
You get penalty points instead of a qualifying
Everything
ban.
had changed so much. Yeah, I don't know.
That's fair.
Check
Fair
it
point,
later.
yeah.
Either way, he's going to be
Well,
like, bastard.
if Ardell had rear wing damage, though, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But if he didn't, have an emergency or rearing damage.
If he's hit a wall on this track, he's fucking gone off fast. So I mean, fair play to him.
Yeah. Here we go again.
And
for second.
This is why it's a penalty. As we can, perfect example.
Was there yellow flags? That is a big thing. J&T did not get an illegal overtake with it. I'm watching his stream. Him and Gagi are in the safe zone for fuel. They're fine. So yeah, just an FYI there.
Yeah, if anybody was confused as to why it is a penalty for retiring in the pits, that's a perfect example. The AI car leaves the pits, causes yellow flags, and it completely screws those who are still racing.
Happened last week with the Mercedes Academy boys and girls right there. It was a big kerfuffle. Mintelke tried to give the spot back on Jordan, brake checked him. I don't think she meant to, of course. She just did it at a poor time. William through, wavy through. And yeah, and then you had the drama that ended up ensuing between, Polo got a penalty. Yeah, the drama ensuing between both Aston Martin drivers at the end too as well. So, yeah, speaking of Aston Martin, Red Fire Tiger, he's just 2 seconds off of the podium spot. He was just 3 seconds away a lap ago. These two continue to battle. Their second place and third place spots are not safe at all.
He's catching around 4 turns of the lap. It might be a slightly too big of an ask for him to catch and overtake the cars in front. As Murray Walker famously said, it's one thing to catch someone, it's quite another to overtake them. But no, he's definitely showing good signs.
Well, we'll find out if Bugatti goes for a late one. That was so close to coming together. Red Fire 3 seconds back, Mintelke 2 seconds back, and Dil JG definitely not out of the fight, by the way, too. We mentioned it a moment ago. You mentioned Wavy, I mentioned Polo. 3-second penalties right there, and C. Davies, my hero, 12 seconds of penalties right now on the track limits. Here we go for a move now. Polo got to the left side and through for 9th place right now. He intercepts that place once more.
I'm worried watching Blue Doggy. I think maybe the desperation and the sheer will to want to prove everybody wrong is maybe taking over a little bit. He seems like he's losing his head a little bit, like he's maybe getting too excited. He needs to just settle down, realise it's so easy to overtake around. You don't need to go for laser aggressive type bombs. If I was him, I would just sit behind, charge ERS, and give myself as much power as possible to make sure I can overtake and beat my rival with as little risk as possible.
Remember, in this race 2 seasons ago, the last time we ran it in Tier 2, there was a last lap pass for the victory. Will we see a last lap overtake for 2nd place this time? We have 3 laps to go, quite soon here. Right now, J&T Gaming holds on. Blugagi wants it though. He has DRS on the main straight, and he's ducking out, gaining, and through. But Red Fire lurking in the background, 2.7 back, now becomes 2.4 as they overtake each other.
He's definitely catching them. It's
definitely a worry though for J&T and Gagi if they want to remain in their podium spots. Aston Martin, it would be a big drought that they'd break of podiums in terms of how long it's been with their races. Polo got there, went wide at the final corner. I don't see him overtaking Wavy now unless he turns on the jets, and he does to the outside. Just too late.
You're so American, getting the jets on.
I mean, yeah, you turn on the battery. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different terminologies you could use for it.
Turning on the afterburners.
I definitely don't want to make a... I might get canceled for this. I don't care. People won't care. I'll just say I definitely maybe have a right to make a certain joke about certain jets you turn on with the state I live in. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah. And why? There you go, George. If you didn't pick up on that one. Anyways, I was just saying, in terms of turning on the jets, I said I'll get canceled for this joke, but I don't care. I'm just gonna abbreviate it for the sake of it. If anyone has a right to make turning on jets jokes, it'd be me with the state I live in. Here we go, 2nd place again. J&T Gaming. Possibly. J&T Gaming through on Gagi, and Red Fire 1.4 back now. He's right there.
Gagi's gonna hit the third tower here with these late dive bombs.
We resorted to New York jokes. I'm not even gonna say the word you said, so yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
What, the third tower?
I don't want us getting banned.
Mr. President, they've hit the South Tower.
We need to go back to Malaysia, maybe. Okay, here goes Polo God now. Here goes Polo God on the inside this time instead of the outside, and it just did not work, and he almost has a big slide. He was so lucky not to. Oh, my word. I mean, it may not be the most scintillating race in terms of action, George, but we still got 3 battles here. We might have a chance to have 3 photo finishes 2 weeks in a row, maybe at the line.
I mean, it's like tier 3 yesterday. It's just the hours overtake. It's tactical. It's a bit too tactical. It's boring. Everyone being too smart.
Yeah. I mean, we still have battles ensuing, and here comes Red Fire in DRS now. He doesn't have the battery, though, but neither do the front 2.
What a
go.
recovery from Red Fire Tiger. When I say recovery,
Yeah.
it's just he's played this smartly. He's used his experience well. He was down. He was caught on that train behind him in Docky. He's used his pit stop well. He's really turned on these medium tyres to bring back himself into a podium fight.
I mean, you can argue with Beatnik's podium in this race 3 seasons ago for Aston Martin. You had your collision with Florian. George, you had that happen twice.
Yeah.
You had, I believe, maybe was it the second Ferrari that had trouble hit that race? Alex Baer, I think. There was a lot of trouble that hit during this race 3 seasons ago, and it was a bit of a chaotic one, although it was boring for the overtakes. The drama that happened, it made it chaotic, and Beatnik propelled for a 3rd place finish. But right now, Red Fire, the more impressive part for me is he's doing this on pure pace. I mean, these guys have been battling in a big slide from J&T, but it still is all to play for 3 more sectors soon here.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting because we've got the experience of Red Fire Tiger. Granted, he doesn't always show how experienced he is. He can be a bit of a muppet sometimes. And the complete inexperience of Blue Goggy. It'll be interesting to see if Blue Goggy can keep his head on, can keep his composure. He's in the fastest car. He's in a very good position.
Oh.
Or if Red Fire Tiger can use his experience to his advantage. Or if JTK, the reigning champion, we can't forget, in his illustrious return back to Ferrari, if he can show everyone why he is the reigning champion.
Here we go. Has Goggy got himself a final lap move underway? Here we go. Down the inside. Side by side. And almost contact between the pair. Red Fire there in the background to pounce if anything happens. But Goggy just avoids hitting J&T. And we'll have to wait once more. Can Goggy and Red Fire both put pressure on J&T maybe to get him off the podium? It's all for the last 2 podium spots here. And if they wreck, will Mintoki go through? We'll find out.
Red Fire Tiger's got a lot of battery saved up. A lot more.
I was just going to say that just a bit ago. He's in prime position here. Polo through and wavy. Sorry, you couldn't. Go ahead. Well, Goggy, 6/10 back. It's not going to be enough unless it's going to be on the main straight. Remember where that start-finish line is. It's a bit earlier than last game, so you'll have to time your move perfectly. Oh, John and Dil JG. Did Dil JG have a puncture? No, he just got overtaken. He's been struggling. Into the final corner and rounding the final corner. JTK tonight has been an absolute rock star. 3 seasons in a row with a win, but his 5th win comes in Qatar. And across the line now, J&T Gaming in his return to Ferrari does get on the podium. And to hang on, Blue Goggy has silenced the critics after a bad Bahrain race onto the podium. Red Fire 4th, Mintoki 5th, and John did hold on. And I was right, I think Dil JG does have a left front puncture. He did have a left front puncture. Samgino 8th. Polo God with wavy now for the last points. Wavy using battery, but not enough. Polo God in his 2nd week returning gets into the points with a kick salver. Wavy 10th. William is going to be 11th. Fusion 12th. Optical trying to go for the fastest lap. Who has it? He might nip it off JTK, but it's going to be close. He'll be the last one to finish the race. Fusion on debut comes 12th. John, nice recovery. I think he's maybe my driver of the day. Either him or JTK. But will Optical take fastest lap? For a tier 3 driver, it would be quite the accomplishment. Cross the line now. And he just misses out.
What a race. Maybe not the most exciting, however, I think driver performance and strategy-wise, it was very interesting.
John, driver of the day according to the game. I'd have to agree.
I disagree. I think my driver of the day. I think there's 3 or 4 main people who could
Redfire,
he could give it to JTK. I think JTK, Redfire, John. But the person I'm going to give it to is Blue Gongi. I think he proved it. He proved everyone wrong. I think even myself, as I was commentating, I was saying I think he's going to lose his head. I think he's going to bottle it. I think it was a crash waiting to happen. He proved everyone wrong. He drove the perfect race for his team. He was unlucky not to get the P2, but I think now he's proved everyone wrong. He's proved that he is capable. He just needs to ride the momentum.
No backflip from JK today, but it is the victory in hand with him, and I'm communicating with online services. I love to see this. It's so annoying. So, here are your final results on screen. I would have to. I'd have to agree with you. By the
yes,
go ahead. Go ahead.
To add my little spin on the stream, I would like to give a dick of the day, my worst driver of the day, Wavy Knife. I think, yeah.
Interesting.
I think fighting for points, or not points, but fighting for a P9 in a Mercedes against a kick-timer is appalling. Bluntly to put it, I think he needs to really start pulling his finger out before before owners step in and tell him that he's not allowed to race in that seat. I think he's there's other people more deserving of that seat. Red Fire Tiger has proved he is deserving of a better seat with fighting for the podium with an epic comeback. So yeah, I think Wavy Life really disappointing today.
I don't know if you'd give it to Red Fire though, because maybe Red Fire is quite comfortable in that Aston Martin. I don't think that Aston is either too far or too behind the Mercedes. In all fairness, though, I mean, I don't think I go to Red Fire if you want my honest thoughts, George. But in terms of drive of the day, by the way, as you saw your final results just moments ago, only lost 3 for another Qatar race. I was just gonna say, for drive of the day, I mean, yeah, if it's not John, then you got to go with the other options like Goggy, Red Fire, JTK. I would have to agree with that. JTK has to leave early, so he's not going to give us an interview. But do you maybe want to give an interview to your driver of the day, and maybe I'll switch mine to Goggy, so we can tell him each driver of the day and give him one, maybe?
Sure.
Not the winner,
Do you want to invite them?
it's a nice recovery. And it's only his 3rd Tier 2 podium. I think we should at least talk to him. Therefore, we're not just, ending it off without any interview.
So,
We did bring back interviews.
yeah, great.
So. By the way, double Red Bull podium for a 2nd day in a row, George. I'm sure you're happy with that as well.
Yeah!
As an academy driver.
Go Red Bull! I'm totally not biased. Actually, I'm biased. Yeah.
So, we don't have JTK here, but we have our podium finisher here, Blue Goggy. Hello, Goggy. Include your audio. JTK did not want to. Well, it's not that he didn't want to. He just couldn't give an interview for tonight. He said he would next time he's here and available. But it's your 3rd Tier 2 podium, and I changed up my driver of the day because George has given it to Goggy. So I've kind of helped get you voted driver of the day, and I would say much deserved, by the way. Your race, though, tell us about it, though. You battled with J&T, and then Red Fire closed up, and maybe the podium was at risk. What were you thinking when trying to battle there in the last few laps, but still remain on either the 2nd or 3rd slot?
I think there about 10 laps to go. JTK was just telling me to hold off until the final lap, so I could just get on the front lap. But then I didn't. I sometimes had the overspeed, so I couldn't really not overtake him, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I was just kind of exchanging, as you may have seen. And then I also had to watch, as you said, I also had to watch for Red Fire, because he was closing up a lot faster than I was expecting. So I had to look forward, and I had to look both ways, really. So I think in the earlier stage of the 2nd stint, I was faster than J&T, but then as we got to the end of the race, he was I think pulling away from me a bit, but I managed to just keep the OS. But yeah, I think in the penultimate lap, I kind of just used a bit too much EOS to try and so he wouldn't lose me. So I didn't have much to deploy on the main straight. So I mean, I still got alongside, but then he just got the edge of me. It's still double podium for the team. I'm really happy. So yeah.
Before I ask George if he has any questions, I was just gonna say, do you feel you silenced the critics? I mean, it's just like last week, it's one race.
Yeah.
So, it was a better qualifying from you, a better race from you, and your third podium in tier 2 and 6th across all tiers. What are you feeling with that? And like I said, have you silenced the critics in your thoughts?
I wouldn't say I have completely. I mean, there were still some flaws in the race, I would say. But yeah, I think I thought I could just not be really inconsistent. With the start of the season, I obviously didn't do great, and then now I'm on the podium. So I just hope that I don't, be really inconsistent throughout the season and just kind of build momentum as I go. So then, because I don't think I've completely done what I set out to do this season. Being given the opportunity to be in a top car full time. I mean, one podium is not where I think where I want to be at the end of the season. I want to maybe challenge for wins potentially. Today I was for the earlier stages, but then JTK pulled away. So yeah, I think if I could just build this momentum and then finish the season well and hopefully finish high in the standings, then I think that will settle it.
Congrats on the podium. And George, any questions for Gagi?
Yeah, so you just saying then that you want to build momentum and get into the season, and then you see, we gave you driver of the day for a reason. We thought you drove really well. However, there was a big gap to your teammate in the end. How do you think, or how important do you think the next race is again to prove that it wasn't a fluke today, and that you can turn up every week? But secondly, how are you going to close that gap to JTK and consistently and properly fight for victories in the future?
I think doing practice races with him throughout this week, I wasn't too far off. But then definitely in quality, he was a long shot away from me. So I think if I just, because now I've finished my exams and stuff, but yeah, so I have a lot more time to practice. I'm not going to put excuses on why I was bad in Bahrain, whatever, but yeah, I definitely think I can improve a lot throughout the season. And I mean, obviously JTK is an amazing driver, so it's going to be very hard to, match him. I mean, in quality, it definitely showed how fast a driver he is. I mean, getting pole by 2/10 or something like that. But yeah, I think I don't want to play the number 2 driver role, but then again, he is clearly the faster driver. And I don't think I'll be able to catch up to him that quickly. But yeah, we'll see how the end of the season goes, and if I can close up to him, that would be great. But as long as I can just keep getting good results, as long as he's winning, then I guess that's good as well.
Any more questions, George?
No, all right. I think you answered most of them. Great race today. Best of luck for the season.
I think.
Yeah, so
we
got Austria next. Good.
I don't think I'll be there next week, but we'll see. Because I'm from, so I don't know when it will finish and stuff.
Oh no, I've got a question. Have you got a date for prom?
Oh god, here we go.
Have you got a date for prom? Better add.
No.
How are you not, man? Show him the RPL account and you'll be in there, son. Show him the stream. Show him you getting P3, and then we'll leave you like a cheap suit.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Absolute fucking
But
P3.
yeah, I should be back to it in. What's round 4? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't know.
I can look at it. I think it's Spain. Yes, it's Spain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll probably if I can't make Austria, I'll be definitely back for Spain. But I think it's also good to give Ardell a chance, because he went down to Cup for this season. So I think it's when I'm not there, it'll be a good opportunity for Ardell to see what he can do, because he's also a great driver. But yeah.
JNT's giving credit, by the way, to Ardell for helping out the Red Bull team, by the way. Much respect right there between you guys.
So Blue Cock is openly admitting that he's missing an RPL race to Shaq Birds. What a guy. My guy.
Well,
This is my
there you
driver of the day.
Jesus
Well,
Christ.
George, we've got Austria next week, and we've got 2 races the rest of this weekend. I mean, we've kept it safety car free for a total of, I'm going to continue to say this, I hope you're not bothered by it, 258 laps,
Oh my God.
you know, consecutively. So we got Austria next week as well for Tier 2. Rest of the weekend, next week, what are we expecting?
Well, for me,
No, just as for the league.
What?
Tomorrow, Tier 2, Austria.
Oh,
What are
wait,
you
you're
expecting?
asking me or?
No, George.
what? Tier 1 tomorrow. I don't know, to be fair, I'm not really interested in Tier 1 like that much anymore, I'll be honest. After my ban, just don't really care. Tier 2 next week, though. Tier 3, Tier 3 I think would be a good race. It's one of my stronger tracks, for reference. It'd be interesting to see what Cookie does in respect to my teammate, because my actual signed teammate hasn't turned up to a race yet.
Interesting.
But both Valk and Jordan have put in very strong performances in to show us why they should be in a Red Bull. And again, it'll be interesting to see if the Ferraris can bounce back, because they're obviously very strong in Bahrain. With Tier 2, again, I think it would be another interesting race, as I mentioned to Blue Goggy, even though he's not here. It'll be an interesting race, even though he isn't here to see, how the second Red Bull driver can fare if maybe, for example, Ardell races and is beating JTK or competitive. If it'll raise questions as to who should really have the second Red Bull seat. It'll be interesting to see if the Mercedes Academy can bounce back, because they had only one driver fighting for the podium, and the rest of them were respectfully not that competitive. They were sort of like fighting where they should be fighting, if that makes sense. Like, they weren't really, apart from Red Fire Tiger, nobody really outdrove the car.
Maybe Polo, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it'd be an exciting one in Austria. It's in the past we saw, not last season before, it was very intense with Florian and Hunted.
Very true.
It's safety car prone. It's a fast track. It's got lots of DRS straights. It'll be good.
Also, the pit lane, another one we talked about this week, could come into play next week for guys picking up post-race penalties. Is how Ardell lost a podium there last season.
Absolutely.
So, it'll be interesting to see.
It's a stupid pit entry, to be fair, but the rules are the rules.
It is. Exactly. So, to continue out the weekend, we have F2 tomorrow in Imola and F1 in Jeddah. But for
F2, I didn't
Tier
quite
2
I
next.
literally own F2.
I love F2. If I can get
True.
on podium.
And our race next week as well for Tier 2 Austria, like you mentioned. So it shall be interesting to see what happens. Ryan Searles, George Alp-Williams, the 22-time podium sitter in Tier 2.
Really?
Signing off. Have a good night, everybody.
Jeez, 22, comma.